Nier Automata is a very weird game. So weird, I found it somewhat off-putting at first. When the director is sitting here saying the sales of the game are a fluke, and when he's even told Square, hey, don't expect the same thing for the sequel, I think that's a bit of an indication of how unexpected it was that Automata was such a big hit. I mean, just the game's backstory alone is pretty wacky. The backstory is based off a game called Drakengard back on the PS2, which was like a Dynasty Warriors-esque game from what I can tell, not even really in the same vein as Nier, and one of its endings sets up the world of Nier Automata thousands of years beforehand. Okay, so stick with me here. Drakengard's main antagonist is an innocent white flower. This flower is evil and wants to destroy the world. The flower gained powers by latching on to a young sex worker who was on the brink of death. What the f? But then she learns this flower is evil and tries to get rid of it, but then the flower retaliates and births 5 sisters that can summon these things called Watchers that are basically otherworldly beings who can summon the Queen Beast, which is a monster sent in by the Watchers that our protagonist Kame must defeat. Whew. You guys still with me? Whew. No wonder Yoko Taro thinks his games suck. Okay, so one of the endings in Drakengard leads to Kame and the Queen Beast being transported into modern-day Tokyo, where he defeats the Queen Beast with the help of his trusty dragon, Angelus. But then, they get shot down by Japan's military, and long story short, the Queen Beast dissolves into these particles called meso that affects the humans of the world, which leads to a disease called the White Chlorination Syndrome, and in response to this disease, the humans create Project Gestalt, which results in the creation of the androids, and that pretty much sets up the backstory of Nier Automata. Now, if you thought that was weird, that was relatively tame compared to the story that Nier Automata tells. But it all works in this fantastical way that made me never want to stop playing, and playing a game for the story in 2021, that is a hard feat to accomplish nowadays, especially in my book. If the backstory alone wasn't enough of an indicator, Nier Automata tells its story in such a unique way that there's really no other game like it. It starts off pretty standard. You play as Android 2B. She seems pretty cold-hearted and is a stickler for the rules. You work for an organization called Yorha, which is comprised of androids that are waging a war against the machines in order to protect humanity. The game is comprised of multiple endings, so once you finish one character storyline, another opens up that gives you more insight on the game's characters and gives you more information about the game's world through the different perspectives in which you experience the game. One of these characters is 9S, who serves as a great contrasting character to 2B. 9S is someone who is curious and asks questions, and rather than simply obey orders, he goes out of his way to question why he's doing the things that he's doing.
You left quite a trail when you accessed the main server.
That's what I wanted to speak with you about, Commander.
9S even questions why Command even partnered the two androids together at one point. After all, 2B is a combat model. What reason does she have for partnering with 9S, who's designed to gather intel? Wouldn't it be more efficient for them to work separately? But she simply dismisses the question, saying orders are orders. This is where Nier's side quests come in. One thing that is absolutely genius about this game is how it intertwines side content within the game's story. So many other games, straight up, don't do this, and it's such a shame. Final Fantasy 15, the side quests in that game are absolute ass. Yeah, Prince Noctis, go find some rainbow-colored frogs and bring them back to me, thanks.
Your words say no, but your expression betrays an irrepressible desire to lend a hand.
No. Meanwhile, in Nier, freaking find who murdered this person's friend. Isn't that already worlds more interesting than finding frogs? You hack into this pod's photo logs and see that the murderer has a red hood. You start asking around, and a girl with red hair bought the hood from someone at the resistance camp. And then, wait a minute, the girl who gave you the quest has red hair. So you go back and, oh god! This is how you do side quests in video games. Not like this, or like this.
I'm looking for cats. This sucks.
If you didn't do this quest while playing Nier Automata, then you missed out on a huge part of the story. Through this quest, you learn that Yorha Type Es exist to destroy other androids. As to why, you have no idea at that point. But trust me, it's a significant part of the story, and I love that they decided to include that within side content. And it's not like this is the only side quest that's like that either. That's not to mention how immersive this game is. For some reason, I just love when games make fast travel make sense. In Automata, different androids are stored at different facilities, or safe spots, and loading screens are essentially boot systems for Yorha androids. But the game does more than just that to immerse you. If your systems are damaged, you really feel like you're in bad shape. The screen starts to get all staticky and distorted, your hearing gets damaged, you're barely able to walk. Some people found control being taken out of their hands annoying, and I can agree that at times it could get frustrating, especially when you're just limping around during a fight trying to dodge attacks, but when it's done right, it just pulled me deeper into the game. Nier Automata feels like more than just a game though. The themes presented within Automata are real-life challenges that are presented to us in everyday life. I've been trying to avoid spoilers as much as possible, but to discuss Nier's themes and why I think they're great, I gotta dive into spoiler territory. If you haven't experienced the game for yourself, I implore you to check it out. If you have, keep watching, cause I need to get this off my chest. So, like I said before, in Nier Automata, this organization called Yorha, comprised of androids, is waging a war against the machines. Machines are the enemy and must be destroyed. That's what's established from the very start of the game. But throughout your encounters with them, you start to question, are machines really that bad, and are they really all that different from androids? Some machines imitate human behavior, trying to make children. Told you this game was weird. Then you encounter a pacifist machine village, where there are machine children playing with one another, a mother chasing her child who runs from her after being scolded. In the next area, you infiltrate the Forest Kingdom, where the machines there are simply trying to protect their king as you slice your way through their forces, and you just feel so bad about the whole thing. The whole time, the game had me thinking, what did the machines ever do to deserve this? And honestly, after having finished the game, they don't deserve it. But then the androids have been brainwashed into thinking machines are the enemy, even if they themselves start to believe it less and less the more the war goes on. So they're just stuck in this perpetual cycle of never-ending war. The more you learn about the game's world and the circumstances as to why this war is even happening though, the more you realize how meaningless this whole war even is. Androids are fighting for their creators, the human survival, but one of the big twists is, well, actually, humans have been extinct for a long time now. The aliens that created the machines,
They were destroyed by the very things they created.
so the whole thing is just this proxy war where the victor doesn't even matter because there's no one waiting for them on the other side. Then you find out that the black boxes you see in androids, yeah, machines are made from those too. So technically, androids and machines come from the same thing. So, oh my god, what is the point of all this fighting? It's all meaningless. Their lives are worthless, nothing they do matters. From the moment they're born to die. And the game really drives this point home. Holy shit. This game is one depressing ass mofo. The thing is, 9S eventually learns about all this. He learns that the humans don't exist, he knows this whole war is pointless, and the only person he can really confide in here is 2B. But remember what I said earlier? How there are certain types of androids that are designed to kill other androids? It didn't make sense for 2B to be assigned to 9S, except she's actually a Type E as well. She was partnered with 9S to kill him when he found out too much, because his curious nature was implemented within his design. It was inevitable. And so, 9S never gets the chance to tell 2B. Did he figure out that 2B was actually a Type E and she was potentially going to kill him if he confided in her? Did she know everything all along too? You never find out, because she's killed. And at this point, the only thing that 9S ever really cared about is lost. 2B was the only person he really had to save at this point. Their home base has been destroyed, all other androids have lost their minds because of a logic virus. It's all meaningless to 9S now. The person who killed her was Android A2, who you get to know more about in the game's third playthrough, which only makes their eventual confrontation all the more heartbreaking. When they put me into A2's shoes, I was like, nah man, I don't want to grow to like this character, because I know what this ending has in store for me. But A2 is freaking awesome. Not only is she super fun to play as, she's also got really good jiggle physics. But I really sympathize with her as a character. A2 didn't kill 2B out of malice. A2 killed 2B out of mercy. But 9S is just too heartbroken to care, and A2 knows the pain of losing someone close to you all too well because of her own past. so it's just this downward slope that made a grown-ass man like me want to burst into tears.
Also, anybody else notice that in Ending C, the arm that A2 cuts off is 2B's arm from 9S? Symbolism here, people. This stuff is genius.
But the ending I want to talk about the most here is Ending E. In this ending, the pods decide to ditch the status quo. Screw Project Yorha, screw perpetuating this cycle of war that doesn't even matter. Those androids need to live. And so you go through this battle in the credits, almost hacking into the game itself and fighting with the people who made this game, seemingly trying to stop you from defying the fate that they had in store for these characters. But every time just... oh my god, this is impossible. Right up until the game asks you. This is some Undertale shit right here, and I absolutely loved it. Other players jump into the fray to help you get the true ending, and every time you're hit, you see that someone's data is lost. After viewing the game's ending, you realize what that means. Other players deleted their frickin' save data, free of choice mind you, in order to help you get that game's ending. You're then asked if you want to give up your data to help a random stranger as well. And honestly, this is when the game really came together for me. All that hardship, all that death, all that depressing stuff we went through wasn't meaningless.
We found meaning in a meaningless world.
Through the help of others, we were able to save them from this perpetual cycle of life and death. We were able to save them from a meaningless war that never would have ended because we banded together. And I think that's a great message to take away from Nier Automata. Oh, did I delete my save data? Well, I...